Paano nga ba mag-divide ng fractions? How do we divide fractions in a way na magiging simple sa atin or madali nating masagot? Okay, today, ang pag-aaralan natin is how to divide fractions. Ayan, okay? So, sir, kung may tanong kayo, sir, bakit po may sky? Ano pong kinalaman yan sa fractions? Well, wala. Gusto ko lang. Alright. So, simulan natin. What are fractions? Review. A fraction is a part of a whole number. It has two parts, a numerator and a denominator. Numerator is here, numerator, number of parts we have. And the denominator is the total parts in a whole. So yung nasa taas, siya yung number of parts. Yung nasa baba, that's the total parts in one whole. So when you say 2/5, that means out of 5 parts in a whole, we only have 2 pieces. So yan yung shaded in violet. Now, dividing a fraction by another fraction is the same as multiplying the fraction by the reciprocal or the inverse of the other. Okay? Since they are inverse ang division and multiplication, we can also treat division as multiplication, but we need to get the reciprocal or inverse of the other fraction. What do we mean by reciprocal? Well, we get the reciprocal of a fraction by interchanging its numerator and denominator. Okay, so for example, 2/5, you're going to divide the number by 2/5. So you want to get the reciprocal of that into 5/2 so that you can just go ahead and multiply it because it's easier to just multiply the fractions. No need to make it so complicated. Let's go and actually see how that works. Okay, we're gonna take that into our minds. Yung dividing a fraction by another fraction is the same as multiplying the fraction by the reciprocal or inverse of the other. So let's take 3/5 divided by 1/10. So that's 3/5 divided by 1/10. I hope you can see this small writing. All right, so the first step in order to answer this one is to get the reciprocal or the inverse of the second one. So 1/10, I'll just put here in our scratch, 1/10, when you get the reciprocal of that, that will be 10/1. You just reverse it. Okay, once you reverse it, this division will become multiplication. So it will become 3/5 times 10/1. Okay? So now it's just a multiplication problem. And it's going to be very simple to do. We just multiply the two top numbers. 3 times 10 is 30. And then 5 times 1 is 5. So we have 30 divided by 5. If we divide that in our scratch, what will we get? We will get 6, of course, by the multiplication table then. 6 times 5 is 30. So 30 divided by 5 is equal to 6. So the answer here is 6. Okay. So 3/5 divided by 1/10 is going to be 6. That's our answer. Okay, so what did we do there? Let's look back again. We have 3/5 divided by 1/10. The first thing we did was get the reciprocal of 1/10, which is 10/1, and change the division problem into a multiplication one. Okay, and then multiply the top numbers, multiply the bottom numbers, and then simplify. So those are the steps that we need to do in order to divide fractions by fractions. So I hope you got that. And we'll look at some other 8 more examples of these things. Okay. So for example, we want to divide a fraction by a whole number. Now, what we need to remember is that whole numbers have 1 as a denominator. So instead of just writing 7, okay, let's just copy that so that our solution is clean And then we can write the 7 as 7 over 1. Okay? So that looks like what we did earlier on. So what we're going to do is the same. We write 7 over 1 here. We want to get the reciprocal of that, so it's just 1 over 7. So we will change this division symbol into multiplication and get the reciprocal of 7 over 1, which is 1 over 7. And then multiply the top numbers. 3 times 1 is 3. And if you know your multiplication table, you'll know that 5 times 7 is 35. Now, we cannot simplify that because they do not have any common factor. So we will just write here simply 3 over 35. That will be our answer. 3 over 5 divided by 7 is equal to 3 over 35. Okay, I'm sorry for the coughing. I ate too much. All right. Let's go to the third example. What if we want to divide whole number by fraction? Okay, so I actually want another example other than this. Let's have 8 divided by 5 over 4. So you have a whole number divided by a fraction. So let's have 8 divided by, let's just copy that here in our solution. Solution paper. All right. So 8 divided by 5 over 4. Again, we're going to write the 8 as 8 over 1. So we can write it 8 over 1 divided by 5 over 4. Okay. All right. And then remember that the divisor is the one you need to get the reciprocal of. Or in other words, the one on the right. This one. That's what you want to get the reciprocal of. Not this one. Not the first one. Okay? Or else you're going to get a very different answer from what you should be getting. So 5/4, to get the reciprocal of that, we'll just exchange. It will become 4 over 5. Okay? So we will have 8 over 1 multiplied to 4 over 5. Okay? And then 8 times 4 is 32. And then 1 times 5 is 5. Right? Now, that's the answer, is 32 over 5. They do not have any common factors, so we cannot simplify it. But again, our answers will be much more elegant if it is put in the mixed number form. So let us actually put 32 over 5 into mixed number form. There are several ways to do this, but one very simple way is to divide it. So 32 divided by 5, and then we'll have here 6, that's the closest one, that's 30, with a remainder of 2. That means in 32, there are 6 5s and 2 extra parts. Okay, so that's a total of 6 wholes, 2 extra parts out of 5 parts. So the answer here is simply 6 and 2 over 5. Get that? All right. Sure. That is our final answer. Let's go to our example. We're halfway there. You can skip this or you can pause and then try it out on your own. You do your thing. Okay? I will just be here talking. Now, 2 and 2 over 9 divided by 3. We have a mixed number divided by a whole number. Okay, so the first thing we do is to copy that in our solution board. So solution paper in this case, divided by 3. And now we want to make sure that the mixed numbers are changed to improper fractions. Okay, so that 2 and 2 over 9 will not do. We need to put that into improper form so that we can multiply or divide properly. Okay, so again, the process of doing that is by multiplying the whole by the number of parts and then adding the remainder of the parts. So 2 times 9, okay, is 18. And 18 plus 2 is 20. What is this 20? That is the new numerator. You get it? New numerator. So that's 20, and then we will just copy the denominator, which is 9. So this is going to be 20 over 9. Okay, 20 over 9. Which we are going to divide by 3. So 3 is just 3 over 1. As we said before, whole numbers have 1 as the denominator. And now we want to get the reciprocal of 3 over 1, which is simply 1/3, right? So we'll have 20 over 9 multiplied to 1/3. Again, when you get the reciprocal, that's the time that the division will become multiplication. So it's important that you don't skip steps, okay? Never skip steps. 20 times 1 is 20, and then 9 times 3 is 27. They do not have any common factors. It's a proper fraction, so we can't, or we cannot change it to a mixed number. So the answer is simply that 20 over 27. I hope you're getting this slowly as we are doing more and more problems. Let's go to example 5. Dividing mixed number by fraction. I should have made this as 3/5. Let's make this as 2/3. Okay, so we're going to divide a mixed number by fraction. We're going to make this the same again. Copy first the problem that you have a reference. You don't have to keep looking back on your given. Now, our scratch, we're going to transform 2 and 2 nines by multiplying 2 times 2 and 9. That's the whole and the number of parts, giving us 18 parts. Then adding the 2 extra parts, we'll have the new numerator 20. And we're going to have that as 20 over 9. That's the same as 2 and 2 nines. So equal sign 20 over 9. We don't need to change anything with 2/3 because it's a proper fraction. Okay, so we're going to get the reciprocal of 2/3 and then change this to multiplication. So 2/3, if you get the reciprocal of that, it's just the inverse is 3/2. And so we have 20 over 9, okay, times 3 over 2, which is the inverse of, or the reciprocal of 2/3. Now, we can we can multiply this. Okay, we can multiply 20 and 3, and then 9 and 2, and then just get the reciprocal. We can multiply that and then just get or simplify the fraction, the resulting fraction. But there is actually another way, which you already know from our lesson on multiplication. Another way of making sure that we're multiplying some smaller numbers. And how to do that? Well, it's through division. Let's take a look. We have 3 and 9. Now one is in the numerator, the other is in the denominator, okay? So we can think of that as being 3 divided by 9, okay? 3 over 9, because we're just going to multiply this one. So we can do the thing called elimination or cancellation. Okay, we can cancel 9 and 3, make it smaller numbers. How? By simplifying them. What's the simplification of 3 over 9? Diba 1/3? Kasi 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then 9 divided by 3 is just 3. So we have 1 and 3. Diba? We get smaller numbers now. We have 20 times 1 and 3 times 2. So that's easier for us to multiply. Another thing we can do, another two numbers which have the same factors. We have 20 and 2. Both of them can be divided by 2. They have a factor of 2. We can divide the two of them by 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now, it makes that smaller. We only have 10 times 1. And then 3 times 1 is 3. Now, if you will notice, we don't need to simplify this anymore because we already simplified first here in our cancellation method. So that's the advantage. We don't have to think if they have any more, or we have to think if they have some common factors, but at least the numbers are now smaller and easier to deal with. Okay, so I hope you're appreciating that kind of new solution or a new way of solving it. Now we have 10 over 3. We want to change that. We don't want to let that stay in the improper because that's not very proper. So we want to make that into a mixed number. Okay, and the way to do that is again by dividing. Let's divide 10 divided by 10 by 3. And then we will get there 3 because 3 threes can fit in 10. And that 3 threes is 9. If you subtract that, we'll have one extra part. And so we'll have 3 and 1/3. So the answer of 2 and 2/9 divided by 2/3 is just 3 and 1/3. I hope that's very clear. Excuse me. So we're going to go through the rest very fast because these are just redundancies of what we have already had. Okay. So we have 3 and 3/4. Copy it again. 3 and 3/4 divided by 4 and 3/8. It's very important to copy it so that you at least your fingers or your hands, they know the given by memory. Okay, the muscle memory. Okay, so even if you forget, if you think this looks like a 9 because you have already written it, you will recognize that as a 4. So it's just a brain trick. All right, now we have 3 and 3/4. We want to make that into an improper fraction so we can multiply later very easily. We'll multiply 3, the number of wholes, to the number of parts. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then we're going to add that extra number of parts on top. And we're going to have that as the new numerator, copying the old denominator. So you have 15 over 4. Okay, and then we're going to divide that by 4 and 3/8, but we can also make 4 and 3/8 as, what do you call this? As improper fraction. So we're going to multiply 4 times 8, you get 32. And then if you add 3, you'll get 35. That's the new numerator. 35 over 8. All right, we're done with that, 35 over 8. Now we will just deal with this like we did earlier with dividing fractions by fractions. We copy the first fraction, and then let's divide, let's get the reciprocal of 35 over 8, which is just 8 over 35. So let's write that there. Multiply 2 now because we already took the denominator, the reciprocal. And let's see if we can find some common factors. So both 4 and 8 have the GCF of 4. The two of them have the GCF of 4. We can divide both of them by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 15 and 35, they both can be divided by 5 as evidenced by their last number being 5. So let's divide this by 5. We'll get here 3 and we'll get here 7. We are left with 3 times 2 over 1 times 7. So 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 7 is 7, giving us the final answer of 3 over 7. Okay, take it one step at a time. It seems long, but if you do it one step at a time, you will eventually get to the final answer. So I also hope you're taking note of what's the difference between my solution paper to my scratch paper. Okay. Okay. Next, go to example 7. We have 3 or so more examples to go. All right. So yeah, 2 examples more to go. Now, so usually here we are looking, we have the dividend, we have the divisor, and then we're looking for the quotient, which is the answer. Okay? But sometimes the problems will make us look for either the dividend or the divisor. And so we need to learn how to do that. But first, a review. If we have 14 divided by 7, that's equal to 2. If we do the opposite and then just change it to multiplication and an equal sign, then that will be the same. For example, we have 2 times 7. What will that equal to? It will equal to 14. Correct? That's the relationship between division and multiplication. Now, that's what we're going to use here. So since blank, okay, I'm just going to write the parenthesis, divided by 2 equals 1 over 6. We're going to change that statement into something of this manner in our scratch, like 2 times 7 equals 14, by going the reverse direction. So let's have 1 over 6, 1 over 6 multiplied to 2 will be equal to our blank something, okay? So I hope that's very clear. Okay. So our blank, I'm just gonna write it here, blank equals 1/6 times 2. So we're gonna do this as we do with all multiplication of fractions. We'll have 1/6, and then 2 will become a whole number. Or 2 is a whole number, so we'll put 1 as the denominator. And then as you can see, 6 and 2 have the common factor 2, so we can divide that. We can have 1/3 here. And so we'll have the final answer, 1 times 1, 1, and then 3 times 1 is 3. Our final answer is 1/3. So we can write 1/3 there. 1/3 divided by 2 equals 1/6. Now you can, of course, check this by getting 1/3 divided by 2 and seeing if that will equate to 1/6. So let me just do it very quickly here. As you can see, it is 1/6. So we are good to go. That is our answer. It's good. 1/3. And finally, what if we are missing the second number, or what we call the divisor? What if we're missing the divisor? The key to that is, again, by having a simpler problem. For example, you have 72 divided by 9. 72 divided by 9 is 8. Diba? 72 divided by 9 is 8. Now, how do we find this 9 using this one? Earlier, we saw that 8 times 9 is equal to 72. Okay, but we actually want to know this one. Okay, so what we will do here is that these two can be exchanged, right? You can exchange those two. For example, 72 divided by 8 is equal to 9. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to change these two. We're going to interchange them so that we are actually looking for the blank one. Okay? Let's take a look. We have 1 over 10. Let's copy first. Divided by blank equals 1 over 100. We can rewrite that like this so that we're looking for this number. Okay, we can have 1/10 divided by 1 over 100. That will equal to our mystery number, whatever that fraction or number is. Okay, and we just need to solve that. 1 over 100 will have the reciprocal of 100 over 1. So we're going to change this to multiplication. And then we can see that 10 and 100 both have the GCF 10. So we can divide that by 10. This is going to be 10. And this is going to be 1. And so you'll have 1 times 10 is 10. 1 times 1 is 1. And that will give you the answer of 10. So 1 over 10 divided by 10 is going to be 1 over 100. Okay, so that is how you find the divisor. So I hope with all of those examples, you are able to learn how to divide fractions. Again, if you are confused by some parts, you can go ahead and rewind them. But for now, I want you to just look at the book or any resources that you have. Try dividing. Look here. If you're not getting it, look here for the case of what you are dividing so that you know that. Okay? And yeah, so that's it. I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, you can PM me or just put it down in the comments below. I will see you all in the next video.